Reaching your 40s doesn't come with a warning label, but it does come with a quiet shift that's hard to ignore. You start noticing how rooms respond to you differently, how conversations change, how your experience is sometimes treated like something outdated instead of earned. You might not have a single dramatic moment where it all clicks, but you feel it in small ways, in the pauses, the assumptions, the things that go unsaid. You can be confident, capable, and still walk away from an interaction feeling smaller than you did before. Not because you did anything wrong, but because the world has a habit of deciding what women should be at certain ages. And once you cross an invisible line, you're expected to quietly step back, soften your voice, or be grateful for whatever space you're given. This video is about naming that experience, without anger, without bitterness, but with honesty. It's about looking at how ageism shows up in real life for women over 40, at work, in relationships, in social spaces, and maybe most importantly, inside our own heads. Because the truth is, many of the limits placed on women at this stage of life aren't loud. They don't announce themselves. They slip in through jokes, comments, expectations, and comparisons. They make you question your relevance. They make you second-guess your ambition. They whisper that your best years are behind you, even when you feel more grounded, more skilled, and more self-aware than ever before. This conversation isn't about fighting the world or proving anything to anyone. It's about reclaiming your narrative, about deciding that your age is not something you need to defend, hide, or soften, about recognizing that experience doesn't make you less valuable. It makes you dangerous in the best way, clearer, wiser, less willing to perform. If you've ever felt overlooked in a meeting, if you've ever noticed how your confidence is questioned while someone younger is praised for saying the same thing, if you've ever felt pressure to downplay your age, your needs, or your ambition just to stay comfortable for others, this space is for you. You don't need to become louder or harder to be taken seriously. You don't need to reinvent yourself to stay relevant. What you need is to stop shrinking around narratives that were never written with your best interests in mind. This is about taking your place again, fully, calmly, without apology. Ageism rarely shows up as outright rejection. It's usually quieter than that. It hides in tone, in body language, in the way a conversation suddenly shifts direction once your age becomes visible, whether through your appearance, your resume, or an offhand comment that lands heavier than it should. It might look like being passed over for a role you're clearly qualified for, only to hear that the company is looking for someone with fresh energy. It might sound like a joke at a dinner table about being too old for that now, followed by laughter you're expected to join in on. It might feel like walking into a room and realizing no one is really listening, not because you have nothing to say, but because they've already decided who gets to matter. These moments pile up, not enough to cause a scene, but enough to wear you down. You start editing yourself. You hesitate before speaking. You question whether it's worth pushing back or asking for more. And slowly, almost without noticing, your sense of agency takes a hit. What makes ageism especially heavy for women is how closely it's tied to worth. Youth has long been treated as a woman's currency. So when the world stops rewarding you for simply existing, it can feel like something essential has been taken away, even if you've gained wisdom, resilience, and perspective in return. In professional spaces, this can show up as assumptions about your adaptability, your tech skills, or your ambition. In personal settings, it can appear as pressure to act your age, whatever that's supposed to mean. The message is subtle, but persistent. Take up less space, ask for less, expect less. And when you hear those messages often enough, they start to sink in. You may catch yourself wondering if you're being unrealistic, if you've missed your window, if wanting more at this stage of life makes you difficult or out of touch. That's the most damaging part of ageism. Not what others think, but what it convinces you to believe about yourself. Because the reality is this: nothing about your ability, intelligence, creativity, or relevance expires at 40. What changes is how society responds to you. And once you understand that difference, something important shifts. You stop internalizing what was never yours to carry. Naming ageism doesn't make you negative. It makes you clear. It allows you to separate your worth from the reactions you receive. And clarity is where agency begins to return. This chapter isn't about blaming or fighting. It's about seeing the pattern for what it is, so it no longer gets to quietly shape your choices. Once you recognize the chains, you can start loosening them, and that's where real freedom begins. Ageism doesn't just live outside of us. That's the part no one warns you about. Over time, it quietly moves in, settles into your thoughts, and starts speaking in your own voice. You might hear it when you hesitate before applying for a job because you assume they want someone younger, or when you stay quiet in a meeting because you think your ideas might sound outdated, or when you scroll through social media and feel a tightness in your chest, comparing yourself to faces that look smoother, faster, more current, as if wisdom suddenly stopped being relevant. The stereotypes are familiar. Women over 40 are seen as resistant to change, behind the curve, less adaptable, less ambitious, less energetic, as if curiosity has an expiration date, as if growth belongs only to the young. And the most damaging part isn't when society says these things. It's when you start believing them. That's how ageism really works. It convinces capable, intelligent women to shrink themselves before anyone else has to. It whispers that you should be grateful just to still be included, that wanting more might be embarrassing, that confidence should be replaced with caution. But look around in 2025. Women over 40 are launching businesses, learning new technologies, shifting careers, leading teams, creating art, speaking publicly, and redefining success on their own terms. Not despite their age, because of it. What they have that younger versions didn't is perspective, emotional intelligence, pattern recognition, the ability to sit with discomfort and make decisions without panic. They've lived through failures, pivots, reinventions. They know how to rebuild, and yet many still walk around doubting themselves. Reclaiming your inner power begins with noticing the thoughts that aren't actually yours, the ones shaped by outdated narratives, the ones that make you question your relevance, your attractiveness, your ambition. When you catch yourself thinking, "I'm too old for this," pause. Ask yourself, says who? Where did that belief come from? And does it truly match your lived experience? Because chances are your life has already proven the opposite. You've adapted before, you've learned before, you've started over before. You've survived things that required more strength than any tutorial ever could. Dismantling stereotypes doesn't start with fighting the world. It starts with refusing to keep repeating its lies inside your own head. For many women over 40, ageism becomes loudest at work. Sometimes it's subtle, a comment about fresh energy or culture fit. Sometimes it's the way your experience is acknowledged politely but passed over. Sometimes it's watching opportunities quietly go to someone younger, even when you know you could do the job with your eyes closed. And that hurts, not because you expect special treatment, but because you know what you bring to the table. After decades of work, you're not just skilled, you're steady. You've handled conflict, you've managed crises, you've learned how to read rooms, not just spreadsheets. You understand people, and that's something no algorithm can replace. Yet many women feel pressure to downplay their experience, to shorten their resumes, to remove graduation dates, to make themselves sound current instead of competent, as if maturity is something to hide rather than leverage. Reclaiming your professional power means shifting that mindset. Your experience is not baggage, it's context. It means you don't just know how to do the work, you know why it works. You see consequences before they happen. You know when to push and when to pause. You bring calm where others bring chaos. Instead of trying to compete on youth, you compete on clarity. This might look like reframing how you talk about your career, not listing everything you've done, but highlighting the patterns you've mastered, the problems you've solved repeatedly, the leadership moments that shaped you. It might mean seeking environments that value depth over speed, teams that appreciate judgment, not just hustle, networks where women support one another without comparison. And yes, sometimes it means walking away from spaces that refuse to see you, not because you failed, but because they did. Reclaiming your professional prowess isn't about proving yourself again. You've already done that. It's about owning your authority without apology. You don't need to ask for permission to take up space. You don't need to sound younger to be taken seriously. You don't need to erase your years to be valuable. Your career didn't stall because of your age. It evolved. And when you stop trying to hide that evolution, something powerful happens. People start listening differently. Because confidence rooted in experience is unmistakable. At some point after 40, many women start to notice a quiet shift in how they're treated, not just professionally, but personally too. Friends make casual comments about you being set in your ways. Family members stop asking your opinion the way they used to. New people assume they already know who you are before you've even spoken. And slowly, almost without realizing it, you begin adjusting yourself to fit those assumptions. You soften your opinions, you downplay your ambitions, you joke about being old before anyone else can. Not because it feels true, but because it feels easier. Owning your personal narrative means deciding consciously that you no longer want to live inside a story other people wrote for you. It's realizing that your life didn't peak earlier, that you didn't miss your moment, that you're not supposed to fade quietly into the background. It's recognizing that the version of you that exists right now is shaped by decades of experience, insight, resilience, mistakes, and growth. And that deserves to be seen clearly, not minimized. This shows up most clearly in relationships. You may notice you're less willing to over-explain yourself, less willing to tolerate dismissive comments, jokes at your expense, or subtle disrespect. You may start setting boundaries that feel uncomfortable at first, saying no without a long justification, correcting people when they make assumptions about you, choosing not to engage in conversations that drain you. At first, this can feel awkward. Some people won't like the change. Others may push back, confused by the fact that you're no longer playing the role they expect. But this isn't you becoming difficult or rigid. It's you becoming honest. And honesty tends to rearrange relationships in ways that reveal which ones were built on respect and which ones relied on your silence. Owning your narrative also means allowing yourself to evolve without apologizing. You might develop interests that don't match the version of you people remember. You might change how you dress, how you spend your time, who you feel connected to. You might stop pretending certain things matter to you when they don't anymore. That isn't inconsistency, it's growth. There is something deeply grounding about standing in your life exactly as it is, without shrinking or decorating it to make others comfortable. It doesn't require being loud or confrontational. Often, it's quiet. It's simply choosing not to hand over the authority of your story to anyone else. This stage of life asks a different kind of confidence. Not the confidence of proving yourself, but the confidence of knowing yourself. And once that settles in, the way you move through the world begins to change. When you start challenging ageism externally and internally, something shifts in how you imagine your future. It stops feeling like a narrowing path and starts feeling like open ground again. Not because everything suddenly becomes easy, but because you're no longer trying to earn permission to exist fully. A future without apology begins with small, everyday choices. Speaking up when something doesn't sit right instead of brushing it off. Taking yourself seriously even when others don't. Pursuing opportunities that excite you without explaining why you should be allowed to want them at your age. Letting curiosity lead instead of fear. It also means becoming aware of how often ageism sneaks into your own thinking. The moments when you talk yourself out of something before anyone else has the chance to. When you assume you'll be overlooked, so you don't bother trying. When you think someone younger would be better for this, without questioning where that belief came from. Gently challenging those thoughts isn't about forcing confidence. It's about fairness. You deserve the same openness you extend to others. There's power, too, in connection. When women over 40 support each other openly, sharing knowledge, opportunities, encouragement, it quietly undermines the idea that value decreases with age. Intergenerational collaboration becomes especially meaningful here. Younger women benefit from your perspective, whether they realize it yet or not. And you benefit from staying connected to new ideas, energy, and change without feeling threatened by it. A future without apology isn't about pretending age doesn't exist. It's about refusing to let it be used against you. It's about recognizing that experience carries weight, that insight has value, and that the ability to see things clearly often comes later, not earlier. When you live this way, you become visible again, not because you're chasing attention, but because you're rooted in yourself. You speak differently, you choose differently. You carry yourself with a quiet authority that doesn't ask to be validated. And that kind of presence is felt, even in rooms that once overlooked you. This is how narratives change, not all at once, not loudly, but steadily. One woman at a time, deciding she no longer needs to disappear to make space for others. One woman choosing to stand inside her life without apology. One woman showing what it looks like when experience is not a limitation, but a foundation. And when that happens, age stops being something you defend against and becomes something you build from. As we close this conversation, I want you to pause for a second and really take in what you've been sitting with. Because challenging ageism isn't just about pushing back against the outside world. It's about gently, steadily undoing the quiet beliefs that may have taken root inside you over the years. You didn't imagine the shifts. You didn't misread the room. You didn't suddenly lose your value, your relevance, or your spark. What changed was the lens through which society looks at women after a certain age. And too often, we're expected to quietly accept that lens, adjust ourselves to it, and carry on without complaint. But here's the truth you deserve to hear clearly. You are not required to shrink, soften, or fade to make others comfortable. Reclaiming your narrative means choosing to see yourself accurately again. Not through outdated stereotypes, not through systems that profit from your self-doubt, not through timelines that were never designed with your complexity in mind. It means looking at your life and recognizing the depth you've earned, the resilience you've built, the insight that only comes from living, loving, losing, adapting, and continuing anyway. In your career, this might look like speaking with more confidence instead of apologizing for your experience. It might mean refusing to downplay your skills or pretending you're less capable to fit into a younger mold. It might mean changing paths altogether, not because you're behind, but because you finally know what you want and what you won't tolerate anymore. In your personal life, it might look like setting firmer boundaries. Letting go of relationships that only valued you when you were convenient, agreeable, or endlessly accommodating. Choosing friendships, partnerships, and communities where you're seen, heard, and respected for who you are now, not who you used to be. And internally, this work is about learning to trust yourself again. Trusting your instincts, trusting your timing, trusting that the version of you standing here today is not a lesser version, but a fuller one. The future you're stepping into doesn't require permission, it doesn't need approval, and it certainly doesn't need you to apologize for your age. When women over 40 reclaim their narrative, something powerful happens. We stop asking to be included and start defining the space ourselves. We stop proving our worth and start embodying it. And in doing so, we quietly give other women permission to do the same. This isn't about fighting aging. It's about refusing to disappear because of it. Your voice still matters. Your presence still matters. Your story is still unfolding. And the most grounded, self-assured, unapologetic chapters are often the ones written right here. When you finally decide to stand in your life as it is, claim it fully, and move forward without shrinking. You're not late, you're not done. You're just getting honest about who you are. And that honesty, that's where your real power lives. Before you go, I want to invite you to join this community of women rediscovering themselves after 40. If you found comfort, clarity, or even just a moment of peace in this video, please subscribe. It helps this channel grow, and it helps more women find the support they deserve. And if you have a second, leave a like and a comment. I would love to hear what resonated with you the most. Thank you for being here. Truly.